The digital world moves fast, but real growth comes from real conversations. This is e-Coffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
Welcome everyone to the podcast, and welcome Justin from Camcorder from AI. And I'm really excited to talk about AI video production in today's age in AI video editing, how it affects creatives. I consider myself as a creative. Most of my best friends are creative. I'm really curious from your point of view, Justin, how the future of these people will go. Yeah, I'd like to introduce you. Please introduce yourself and tell the world why you're awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Annie. My name is Justin Ware. I am co-founder and president at Camcorder AI. And, I've been doing video for most of my life. Like going back to middle school, I've been experimenting with video. So, that took me through television news. That took me through nonprofits and higher education. That brought me through agencies and e-commerce and brought me to where I am now at Camcorder AI. I've also been involved in a lot of startups. This is, depending on how you count them, either my fourth or fifth startup. And being able to mix innovation and that energy around a startup with the love that I have for video storytelling, that makes this a really exciting opportunity. And I'm just really happy to be here.
I'm really happy to have you here too, because it's really unique. You have a TV background, because most of the people I've talked to, they kind of start a business from their garage or from their mom's basement at a website, and then they build it, they sell it and stuff. But I'm really excited to explore this TV background from your end. How did you make that transition to go from TV to online business?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I wish it was just a few years ago. It was a lot longer ago than that. I was at last on TV, I think, in 2007, to give you a sense of when I left TV. I was just looking for any way I could use the skills that I have in TV, which at that time was PR. But what was interesting is I started this PR role at the University of Minnesota, and then really just a couple of months after I started, I had a supervisor who went to a conference and saw that YouTube was a big thing all of a sudden. Right, it was still very new, but institutions were starting to experiment with it and create more content and be able to take that directly to audiences through YouTube. So he went to me and said, wait a minute, you know how to create video, right? I'm like, well, yeah, of course. Then again, the video piece just kept on going. I was in that PR role for all about 2 or 3 months. And then I was, a video director and building social media strategies around video for the University of Minnesota. And then that just kind of one thing led to another. And, I started doing some stuff on my own and eventually got into the nonprofit space and got into the agency space. And the whole way through, every time there was either a new division I was building or a new startup I was launching, video was always at the center of it, whether it was actually just a video production company, like one of my startups was, or whether it was a video marketing company where we were helping people kind of scale their content, using different tools and tricks. But that video storytelling piece has always been a through point. It was there when I was in TV news, and in different creative ways of just sort of being able to find the things that I'm good at and that video storytelling element, and being able to mold those into different industries and different positions that I've been able to grow with throughout my career.
Perfect. What skill sets do you think a lot of people lack in the online space that you've learned from TV? Could you name some of these skills?
Well, TV is interesting because when I'm hiring people, I've always just sort of had a bias towards people who come from that news background. And part of what news gave me is the ability to just think quickly, to have an objective, to have a daily deadline, and you have to get things done. You don't have an option of not getting a story done on deadline, right? And I think to some extent you don't want that pressure to exist day in and day out, because some projects take more time and they should be more thoughtful and intentional. But then there are also certain points in time where sometimes you just need to go forward, right? In the software space, I think that's especially true. When you're launching a product, I think it can be you can get to a point where perfect becomes the enemy of good. And, instead of getting some really good tools in the hands of, your customers, you've been waiting for that perfect feature, this one thing to work this way in particular, this one set of, tools to be perfectly functional or what have you. And you, of course, don't ever want to send out buggy software. But I think you do want to sometimes make a decision that we're going to build this later, and we're going to give people this tool right now because they can use it right now, get it in their hands, get some feedback. And I think a lot of that comes back to, just some of those real-time decisions you have to make in that news industry of saying, okay, I have to make this decision. I can go cover this. I can talk to this person. I can't talk to this person, because if I do that, then I'll get something on the air for 6 o'clock. If I try to do all of it, then there won't be a newscast. And I think that's an important lesson especially in the entrepreneurial space around technology and SaaS and, and product and those roles that I've had around that.
I see. Basically, when I look for creatives, it's like not necessarily the creative skill, because it's trainable through a million courses now, but the fact that can you show up for a deadline? So I constantly test creative people. I have millions of content ideas, so the more creatives I have, the more opportunity I have to test them. And I see that the way they respond to me or like the way they submit their tasks to me, if they do, that's such a big indicator. So I'm basically using all these mini projects like short social media posts or YouTube videos as a test to see if this person is good for a long-term collaboration or not. Yep. With your tool, Camcorder AI, you're doing a lot of things that creative used to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? Like, is this a positive or negative thing for example, a video editor?
Well, hopefully what we're doing is helping creatives not have to do the things they don't want to do, right? So, we are AI enhanced authentic video editing, meaning that we are helping agencies and brands and creatives get a lot more out of the content that they have, the real footage, right? The real people, the real voiceover, the real sound bites, the type of thing that audiences react to really well. So, for example, like logging footage. Logging footage, again, as someone who's done a lot of video in my days, has always been my least favorite thing, right? You just have all of this footage. You got to sit there and watch it. And you got to take notes on it. It's really time consuming. It takes up half the process of actually creating a video is just spent trying to log and organize footage. Well, with our library, you upload the content. Our AI will analyze the content. It'll see who's in it. What are they doing? Is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it a child? Is there an animal involved? Are they outside? Are they inside? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Is your product in the video? Is there a logo in the video? So then you have this page of metadata for each clip, and you can just search it, right? If you want to go and do a search and you say, I need that clip that had 5 chefs in it, but one of the chefs had a black hat on, you can ask our platform to find that one clip for you. Whereas in the past, you just have to review everything to go find that clip. And it's at least a half an hour long exercise just trying to uncover something that for us takes a matter of seconds. So, there's resizing for social media. Like with our platform, you can just with a click of a button go from a widescreen image to a portrait image, right? So that you can really easily resize for TikTok or Instagram Reels or something like that. So these are all things that, at least in my experience as a creative, I didn't want to have to do. They were time consuming, they were boring, they were laborious, they were tedious. They had to be done, but there wasn't technology that could do them for you. So now we step in and we provide a way to break up all those bottlenecks. So that way creative people can really focus on being creative. We are 100% looking to enhance the roles of creatives, not replace them.
That's amazing. The next question I'd like to ask you is about promoting your AI tool. So in this podcast, we like to explore different marketing channels and different marketing strategies. Because this is a startup, how did you go about not only building your new product, but also putting it into the market?
Yeah, I think when you're a startup especially, that probably means early on resources aren't as high as you'd like them to be. You don't have as much time on your hands. You're doing a million different things, wearing many different hats. So I think it's really important to lean into the things that you do well, right? Again, for us, it's video and it's authentic video. And, we are a video platform, so it makes sense that we, walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So, we'll do a lot of things like, for conferences, we'll grab a video of ourselves walking through the airport, talking about what we're hoping to see, right? Or maybe at the conference, some of the cool things that we learned or came across or discovered. We will often highlight other people who are doing cool stuff in AI, because it's an adjacent space. So people who, if they're watching us, maybe also want to hear about, how to look at custom GPTs, how to search for the right custom GPT to build an ICP for your main personas, right? That's something that, a friend of mine last week walked me through a few really cool tools on ChatGPT. So I recorded a quick video on how to do that after, thanking her, tagging her as well. So authentic video and just kind of day in the life type stuff. It's relatively easy for us to do. It plays into our strengths. It helps you see what we're working on. It keeps us front and center in news feeds and things like that. Podcasts are great, just like this, because that's also a tool for us. Because once again, it's that video medium, and it gives us a lot of content we can pull back on and reference and repurpose. So there's that. I mean, there's obviously your traditional social media content, email marketing. We have our email lists, and we want to make sure that we're providing value there and keeping people up to date, those who've signed up and said they want to follow us. So a lot of really basic blocking and tackling stuff. But I think probably the one area where we are a little, not unique, but where we really specialize and can shine is in that authentic video storytelling and walking you through the day in the life of a founder of Camcorder AI.
I see. And do you have a YouTube channel for it? Are you recording it on YouTube? Okay, I'm gonna link it down in the description, everyone. Check it out. For Justin's YouTube channel, because it's such a grind to build a YouTube channel as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I would
have.
say YouTube, but I would say LinkedIn's primary. I'd much rather have you follow LinkedIn. Like we put plenty of stuff on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Most of what goes on LinkedIn will also go on YouTube. So I guess you could see like a digest there. But LinkedIn, we're very active on LinkedIn. We use X, Twitter,
Yeah.
fairly often as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, but any of the above, we'd love to have a subscribe on YouTube or a follow on LinkedIn.
Yeah, amazing. One hurdle I have heard recently is a lot of people are reluctant of using AI as a creative person. Like when GPT came out with like their image feature, some of my friends did not support it. When what was that tool that did a lot of good images? Forgot. Midjourney. Midjourney was something that people had like, oh my God, I really loved it. Or like, oh, this is like the worst thing that humans ever created kind of thing. Do you see that often where like this AI technology actually comes up really negative to the creative community?
I've definitely seen some platforms that have probably overpromised and underdelivered, right? I've
Wow.
seen some in the AI space, especially around generative AI with video, making a lot of promises about being able to just, make millions of pieces of content that's going to outperform anything you've ever done. And, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be quite there yet. I think that's part of why we've had such a good reception is we have very practical tools. They're AI. They're very innovative, right? I mean, the idea of not having to log footage anymore is a pretty innovative concept, but it works. It works really well. If you are expecting Camcorder AI to log your footage for you and make it something you can easily search, it's going to be there and it's going to do what you need it to do. If you want to resize for TikTok, it's going to do what you need it to do, right? So I think there's kind of a lot of different directions. I think there are some people who understandably are concerned about, their future job prospects if AI comes in and starts doing something creative that creating video is. I think there are others who really leaned into it early on and maybe have been burnt by some platforms that have perhaps overpromised a little bit and underdelivered. And, where we're trying to come in here and say, look, we're going to grow with this concept. We're going to grow with AI. We're not saying we're never going to do generative. Of course, part of our platform is generative AI. We are generating videos with our studio tool and Camcorder AI. And what we're doing now is we're providing every creative with tools to help them not have to do the things that creatives don't like to have to do, just those really tedious, time-consuming tasks. We look at ourselves kind of like a grown-up AI tool for grown-up creatives and producers who just want to be able to, again, get more done with the same amount of resources and, be able to produce a lot more content, bring a lot more of their ideas to life than, they would be able to if they were bogged down by some of the tedious tasks like, again, logging and organizing footage.
I like the angle where you emphasize that these are tools for the creatives to do a better work. And I think I had a chat with another person about like the future workforce is that now to be a beginner of anything, you have to have a lot of experience already to be considered a beginner. So it's like the barrier just got higher. So if I want to be a well-paid video editor, right, like I can't just I can get away with like just doing A cuts all the time or like reorganizing footages. Like I have to go beyond that because a lot of video editors do that. Like, hey, give me the footage at 1 hour. I'll edit it. This is at the X amount of hours I spend. Therefore, this is my rate. Right? I don't know. For ambitious creatives, I think it's an opportunity, but the ones who don't go beyond, that's not going to be good for them, I think.
Well, and I think it's just always, it doesn't matter what field you're in, whether you're in a creative or whether you're in marketing or banking or teaching or whatever it may be, there's always opportunities to improve, right? To do growth, to learn more, to take that extra course, to follow some blogs, to watch some case studies. So I don't think that's any different than it's ever been. I mean, I think professional enhancement, professional development opportunities have always been there. I think the people who are really good at what they do, really embrace what they do, are always looking to learn and to do things differently. That's always been my mindset is, like I was in news at a time when news was in a really rough patch. Like TV news was going downhill because the internet was here, right? And there was way more ways to get information. You didn't have to turn on the 10 p.m. news necessarily anymore. So that was a really big disruptor in that industry. And, my thought was, well, okay, then how do I need to, I love video storytelling. Like, what can I do next? Like, where do I go next? And how do I really build that out? So I think that's probably happening more frequently now because technology is advancing so quickly. Things are getting disrupted much more frequently. But I think anybody in any career that they're in should always be focused on personal development, professional development, understanding new trends and technologies, and being as good as you can at those new trends and technologies so that you can really leverage them and enhance your career with them, not be replaced by those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you guys take notes because this is literally what our future is now. We can't just be mediocre. I think the new mediocre is just AI, right? Like it does a mediocre job, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. You need that human element to make it really sing.
exactly.
On its
If I
own, it's
just
not great, but it can enhance what you do.
Because if I just let the video, like this Riverside FM to edit all my videos and not check anything, no.
No.
So exactly. So you're also a business owner as well as a creative. How do you set KPIs for your creative to make sure that you also got the revenue at the end of the month?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's, our videos perform or they don't. And there's just lots of different ways you can measure video, but measuring video is relatively easy to do, right? So in some cases, it could just be audience building, maybe an engagement metric that a client is pursuing, right? In other cases, it's a direct conversion. Does that video convert better than others? So we're always happy to put the work that our platform is doing, that our people are doing with our platform up against other content to see how it performs. But yeah, and then even like with our content library, like how often is someone using it? Like that matters too. Like how many users do we have on it? Are they logging in every day? Is this like a very sticky part of their job? Can they live without this library, or would it really be disruptive if you took that library away? So
Yeah.
I think there's a couple different ways of looking at it. There's performance metrics that people are presumably using our platform to create content. Is that content outperforming other content? And the other side, it's the platform itself. Are they subscribing to it? Yes, good. Are they paying for it? Yes, great. Are they actually logging in and using it? That's the most important thing, is to make sure that this is something that is so useful and so sticky that it becomes a part of their daily lives.
I see. Any non-obvious KPIs though or signals that people tend to overlook, or are these the main ones that you recommend people to pay attention?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it really is subscribers, active subscribers on, whether or not our platform is working. And then again, it's what they're trying to accomplish with the video. Are we helping them not just create more video, but helping them create more video that helps them achieve their objectives at the end of the day?
Okay. Yeah. Nowadays, do you see that YouTube is super important now, or do you think that maybe social media is more important, as in like TikTok and Reels?
TikTok is, I mean, depends on the audience, right? Depends on who your target is. I think YouTube's always been important.
Yeah.
And again, the generation matters a lot, but as we're more and more comfortable with, look at our kids. Our kids are 9, 11 years old. So for them, turning on the TV probably starts with YouTube. That's the first place they're going
That's
to look,
true.
right?
Yeah. My
Um,
nieces too. Like
yeah, exactly. And then, as they age, that'll probably be their platform of choice for some period of time. So I think YouTube is always important. I think, depending on, again, what you're trying to accomplish, to some degrees, Facebook is still very important. LinkedIn could be important. TikTok, Instagram, Reels, short form content, obviously for brands, and is very important, the digital ad space. So it's very segmented. It's very dispersed. We obviously have so many options for consuming media today, but I think if you have a good story and you know where your audience is, those are probably the two most important things. And then you can just connect that story with those audiences on whichever platform matters most to them, whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube or TikTok.
amazing. When you started to build Camcorder.ai, did you have that demographic in mind already? This is kind of an entrepreneurship question, but here we are.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question. And we've actually shifted. We've pivoted, right? When we first started, we were thinking news media organizations and big enterprise engagements. So really big brands. And we might have like 1,000 people across a very big brand using our platform. And we still have that infrastructure built into it. So at some point, we probably will get to the point of having really big enterprise level engagements. But first, we need to get people on the platform and using it, right? So over the winter, we decided, let's make this a little more accessible for your agencies, for your smaller brands, for your video editors who maybe are solopreneurs or something like that. And let's give them the tools that they need, right? The library, the storyboard tool, the resizing, the clipping for social media, all of those pieces. And yeah, I think, to be able to kind of shift and pivot and grow like that, that's a really important part of entrepreneurship. And it really comes down to who's excited about what you're building and what are they telling you? What are they looking for, right? And if you ignore that, it's really hard to be successful. If you say, no, this is my original vision, this is the way I've always wanted it to be, and this is what we're going to do, that's not going to work if you don't have clients and customers and users in the space who are, doing those things that you're hoping they would do. So yeah, I mean, to any entrepreneur, I would say just be flexible, be nimble, especially early on. It's so easy to pivot, and stay true to obviously your core beliefs. But if you have a set of clients that are telling you one thing and you can build that thing and you can deliver that thing for them, you're much better off doing that than staying down a path that isn't working.
Yeah, I love the message that you should be able to pivot, because a lot of people get really, I don't know, stubborn, and they just want to do one thing, but then you are kind of creating content for yourself and not for other people, which I had to face that because from experience, I started a YouTube channel and I recognized that these YouTube video podcasts were not performing. Like if I do want to do a podcast, I say I want to go down the podcast route, I have to do like a real life production setup with 3 cameras, 2 microphones, and so on, lighting. But then I had to sit down with myself, like, all right, what's the goal of this whole podcast? And if I do an in-person setup, I cannot talk to you, you know? Like
Right.
we live in different parts of the world. Like how am I going to do that? Yeah, my example is just a small example of having an idea, not working out, but if you reassess why you start your project, you should pivot or just stay the same. And I think it's a very important lesson to learn from for other people as well.
It is in business and in life, right? If you find a different path that, again, you want to stay true to your core beliefs and who you are, but if it's something that maybe isn't quite what you first imagined, but is a much brighter future following that path, take that path. I mean, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. What is the one lesson, what are the couple of tips you would like to give to other people when they start video marketing?
Well, that's a good question.
Because you've done so much. It's probably so hard to narrow it down to like 3 tips or something.
It really is. I do think authenticity matters a lot. It's first of all, it's a big buzzword, right? You go to a lot of conferences
It's a
now.
buzzword.
It's such a buzzword, and it's almost to the point where it's comical how often you'll hear it at like different conferences and whatnot. But for good reason, right? I mean, we live in a world right now where a lot of times it's hard to differentiate between real and fake or authentic or inauthentic. And I think there's some pushback on that right now too, just at a macro level where people are saying, I want as real as possible. So if you're thinking about starting in the video marketing space or doing more video and you're wondering how to expand on that, I would go back to sort of that core idea of who am I, what can I offer, what can I bring, what's interesting about my story, and what can I share with the world in an authentic way, right? Be yourself, be who you are, be real with your product and what you can offer and the limitations and the benefits of using that product or that service or whatever it may be. But that'd be my starting point is, maybe think less about, how can I produce video and more about how can I get my authentic story out to the world using video.
Yeah. Authenticity. It's a bit of a buzzword for me because it can come off like in a production angle. Like I'm just looking at from a pure production angle. Now you are not using the lights. You're not going to invest in so much tech, but you will be putting the phone in the angle that feels like it's an authentic angle. For example, I really liked some of these social media posts, kind of so funny, when it's basically 2 people doing FaceTime and it's a conversation. And from a production point of view, it's really easy to execute because you don't need that so much tech. But now you are putting your storytelling brain on, like, okay, what does this conversation sound like if it's 2 friends talking to each other on FaceTime? How are you going to position your product? Like, let's say the 2 of us on a call pretending that we are working in an agency and we want to promote something. Then how are we going to do that? But to me, that's what authenticity sounds like in 2025. But what other examples can you bring to this conversation, for example?
Oh, what's a good example of authentic storytelling? I forget the name of the brand, but there was a video recently that it was longer. It was like 5 minutes long. And they did this whole behind the scenes. They talked about the founder's history and why he got into it. I wish I could think of the brand that was being discussed here. But then when they interviewed like his mom and they interviewed like people who worked for the company it's not a startup. It's been around for like 15 years, but it was kind of once was a startup sort of DTC type brand. And it wasn't raw. Like a lot of times I think, you want something that looks like it's user generated. So you want like handheld video and things like that. And there's a lot of power in that for sure. But this one had a high production value, right? The production value was very high, but they were being funny. They were joking, being a little crude sometimes, but that was okay. That was their personality. So I think it was high production value, but really focused on the story of the people behind it, down to people working in a warehouse, to the C-suite, to the founder's mother who was, interviewed for the piece. So again, I think it kind of gets back to, what does authentic mean to you? And it should always just mean being yourself and telling your story, and the actual tools you use and the styles, and whether it's, more rough around the edges to make it more believable, or whether it's really high production value, that to me matters less to authenticity than it does just having a real authentic story and being, who you are and being true to that mission, that vision, and that voice.
I think that's a much more profound way to go around it because authentic means differently to other target audiences and ICPs. So it's definitely something to take home and to think about. So final question on the show: if you were to go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self? I'm full of
That's a good one. What advice would I give to my younger self? Maybe be a little bit more patient, because one of the things, just candidly, I've always wondered is what if instead of leaving news, I would have actually leaned into where it was going and tried to innovate with it, right? Now, maybe it would have been a really bad decision and I shouldn't have done that. But I didn't. I looked for a new opportunity. I left and I pivoted careers at that point in time. But I think there's been a few different junctures in my career where I've kind of thought to myself, because I am an entrepreneur, because I am all about innovative things, like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I think there maybe are a few points in time where I probably should have dug in more and been a little bit more patient and really saw something through for at least a bit longer, or tried to look at it in a new way. In certain cases, I had a couple of really good things going, and I went to another really good thing after that, and I'm mostly happy I made those moves. But, what if I wouldn't have? What if I would have really tried to innovate within that space instead of, changing lanes? So I think for me anyway, if I had advice, it would be just be more patient and, really think about, okay, how could this work in a different way?
I love that. I'm learning patience a lot more, which is why I'm much more into therapy and mindfulness and grounding myself. Because, I think over the few years, I worked in a lot of things to grow, but now I need to just keep the pace steady to keep working on something. Just a few hours ago, I met someone who, it took him 6 years to recover from $250,000 debt in his business, and it was a struggle, but now he is having a very good business that allows him to do other stuff than just work. Which is a very inspiring story. And again, it took him patience and persistence to keep going, which a lot of people don't have. Like if they see that much debt, they just they leave and stuff.
Yeah, that's a very nerve-wracking situation, I'm sure. But, one where if you can come out on the other side, I'm sure a very good set of life lessons as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Justin, I'm so glad you joined the show, and I will link your website in the description. But if people would like to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn's best. If you just search Justin Ware, I think, let me see, I'm going to navigate away from this. So my LinkedIn profile is just Justin Ware 1. So all one word, Justin
Okay.
Ware, number 1. That's me. And if you search Camcorder AI and Justin Ware on LinkedIn, that'd probably be the first thing that would pop up. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's how to find me.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you soon, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate it.